online learning, and I'm excited to have you guys with us today. We're up, we're running. We've got Stuart and Cindy with us.
Hi.
Hi.
They're a long way away from me geographically, but not really. We're pretty good friends now. You wouldn't know that we live how many thousands of miles apart, but they're
Just across the pond.
just across the pond. They would say that in Australia, but does that refer to the Atlantic Ocean too? Is that called the
I think
pond?
so.
Okay. How
Or
about
we can
that?
do today.
Now let's do a sound check with everybody to make sure you can all hear, and you can hear Cindy and Stuart and me, and you can see us okay. Would you type a Y if in the comment box if you can hear us and see us okay?
So we need to talk a little bit. Hi, everybody.
Yeah, I can hear you, Cindy. Stuart's a bit.
Can I speak up?
I can. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm here and talking and all of that good stuff.
You sound
okay?
good from this end. And David, you are here. There's my friend, author illustrator, and Jan Peck, author illustrator buddies from Dallas. Hey, you guys. Good. Well, so let me just quickly introduce you to Stuart and Cindy. I'm going to hang on just a second. I want to make sure. Got multiple tabs up all of a sudden. Give me 1 second. Okay, Stuart and Cindy are met as fine artists a long time, not that long ago, and they've got some great stories to tell us. They're fine artists, they're authors, they're teachers. Cindy is one of the best art teachers I've ever known in my life, with an incredible program that she has mapped out that teaches professionals and beginners alike how to draw expertly. It's like nothing I've ever seen or experienced before. It's a wonderful curriculum that she offers through her website. Stuart helps her. Today, though, is going to be a topic of vital interest, not just to fine artists, but to I think anybody who has anything to sell, and certainly to author illustrators and children's book authors. But and that is, you know, how you get your wares into the right venues where you're with the right demographic. People have their credit cards out, their checkbooks out, they're buying, they're interested, they're receptive to what you've got. Stuart is the author of a book, Your Own Art Show, and the link to purchase that book, it's an ebook, it's right there in the description box, which is to the right of the video player. And I encourage you all to order the book. But we'll be talking about some of the ideas, not all the ideas, but some of the great ideas in the book. It's jam-packed with suggestions for practical, really practical, down-to-earth advice about how to stage, how to connect with a venue owner, speak to him in the language he or she understands, that's meaningful to them, about how to have, how this show will benefit them as well, and then having an event that draws more people, more eyeballs, more potential buyers and clients than a gallery showing would. So we're not knocking art galleries, but we're saying you can do this in addition to, or as a prelude to, and get incredible exposure. The book is a delightful read, and I encourage all of you to take a look at it. They're also, I'm going to tell you about the other books they've done before we bring them on. I'm going to put them on camera while I read this. Read their titles to you, and then we'll listen. We'll hear from them. Cindy is the author of 6 Pencil Techniques. These are beautifully illustrated as well as articulated art instruction books. Paint in Your Pajamas, which tells the story of her growth and self-discovery as an artist, fine artist, and how she and Stuart met, and how she established her own art business and became a world-known teacher, certainly a world-class teacher of art, and 12 Charcoal Techniques, also by Cindy, and together they have Cindy and Stuart have co-written, co-edited action painting workshops, how you as artists can create your own action painting workshops, and maybe we can get them to talk a little bit about that book as well. It's another, teaching is another big revenue venue for artists. These books are all available at Amazon, and you can also order them through their website, which is drawpj.com. And again, Stuart's book, and this is kind of a book talk for Stuart today. Stuart's book is Your Art Show, and the link is right up here in the description box. It's the first two links that you see. Okay, guys, I'm going to... that's the end of the introduction, so you're kind of on your own now. We're going to let them talk, tell some stories, toss out some really good advice. Stuart's book is jam-packed with ideas and strategies and real-world thinking. It's so pragmatic and so much fun to read. And then we're going to have time for Q&A. And I've got a list of questions here that I'll start asking them if things get too slow. But I have a feeling they won't be very slow. So, guys, take it away, Stuart.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Mark, for inviting us along to speak to everybody. We're very happy to be here, aren't we, Cindy?
Oh, yes.
And yeah, we're here to talk about, we're here to have some fun talking about art shows and art exhibitions. Cindy and I have done loads of art exhibitions, art shows. We've put them on, and we've got the battle scars to prove it. Yes. And with the book that I've written, I just wanted to get all of that information about finding an art venue that's inside my head out there into the universe, so everybody else can use it. But we're just Mark, do you want to just bring up one of those?
Yeah, let's do that. I'll share my screen.
We'll just tell a few stories about some of our art adventures.
Great.
Running art shows.
Yes, and the questions are already starting to come in also, Stuart. So while
we'll save those up for a second and get one of those pictures up, and then we'll.
Okay, great. Let's give me a second to.
We'll be happy to answer all of your questions, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. So Mark's bringing up a few photos for us at the moment.
Okay.
Here we go.
Good. So there might be a little bit of a delay on the screen.
That. So let's start.
Look like a baby.
I do look like a baby. Don't I? Well,
it's only 12 years ago.
This here was my very first art show. This is me and my friends.
And look at the purple bits in his hair. See those gorgeous maroon pieces in his hair?
Yes. Yes, well, there's a reason for that, and that's because my very first art show was held in a hairdressing salon, if you can believe it. A hairdressing salon. Now, it was a very swish, inner-city hairdressing salon, and I actually used to get my hair done for free in there. And that's hence why I had all the purple hair extensions. But yes, that's my very first art show.
But those people that are sitting behind you, they were your team where you worked at the time.
That's right. So what I did was, it was my very first art show, and I'd been invited by the people in the hairdressing salon to, they were having a charity event. Well, every year the hairdressing salon would hold a charity event, and I'd been showing my art around in my, I had a little Filofax at the time with my artworks in it, and I would show that Filofax to anybody and everybody. A Filofax. Well, do you know a Filofax? Do you, Mark?
No, I don't. I'm not familiar with it.
Before we had iPads, before we had phones to show our artworks to our friends on, we had these Filofaxes, which were
like a diary,
like a diary, which held all of your life in it. And I used to keep my artworks in there, printed out on Filofax size stationery.
How big?
It was, I don't know, it was about as big as,
very big. They're like
slightly bigger than your hand, this Filofax was. But anyway, I used to show this thing around to everybody and anybody. And I showed it to the people in the hairdressing salon, and well, they needed they held a charity event every year, and they needed some kind of idea every year for their charity event. And in ICOM, with lots of ready-made artworks, very colourful artworks, entertaining artworks for the particular audience that they had, and so they asked me if I would like to have my art show as their charity event. And there's a lesson in that. There's often lots of businesses out there who do good work for charity, and they might do something every year, but they need ideas for events, Mark. So it was a win-win for me. It was a win that I got my own art show in a Swiss hairdressing salon, and it was a win for them that they got a ready-made event. So I might have my show there, and
look at the shirts too.
yes, well, if you can see, you can see the shirts.
That's his signature.
How organised I was, Mark. I had my signature logo on all my T-shirts for all of my team, little passes that they're hanging around their necks there, so everybody could see who was my team and who was going to sell them my artworks. Because of course, as the important artist, you see, I'm too busy schmoozing everybody, and I have my team. When a sale comes along, I say to my team, "Oh, well, can you go and process this sale?" And they will go and do that for me. So then I'm not held up wasting time processing sales. When another sales come along, I've got my team behind me.
But that team did that for free.
And they did it
people
for
that
free.
worked for you.
That's right. These were my friends. So
Yeah.
basically,
And they worked for you.
they worked for me. They worked with me. These were my colleagues at work, and I just co-opted them in, and they were happy to take part in this event and help me out. And I guess there's the lesson in that is that, you know, don't be shy to get your friends in to help you if you're going to be running your first art show, and you know, get them to help you out and back you up while you're doing your schmoozing, and help them to do the sales for you and serve the drinks and all of those things, so you can be the star for the night, and they get to help you out, and they get a good feeling about it too. But it was actually an excellent event, because the charity that we were running it in conjunction with, they of course brought all of their members along, so I had a ready-made audience
Who were willing to buy.
who were willing to buy.
art.
They were happy to buy. They were in a good mood, and one of the things that actually put them in a good mood was that we had there was a key thing in the show that really got things going.
Oh, yes.
And that was
mango cocktail,
fruit-
called fruit bat and mango sunset.
Fruit Bat and Mango Sunset Cocktails.
And Mark, that was the title. That one title was what got us two together. It was that title.
That's
Explain that.
Explain
Cindy.
that. Oh my goodness. Well, it was an email that just arrived in my inbox one day. I mean, Stuart and I were sort of aware of each other because I was a huge fan of his art, and he was a big fan of mine.
I had linked her website as one of Australia's best colourful artists.
Well, only 12, alongside
Oh.
Ken Doan, mind you, and Ken Doan is one of the greatest Australian artists of all time. So he had my work listed there, and I was really proud of this fact. But we never met, we never spoke. And then I happened to change my details, and I was updating all my details around the internet when I moved. And Stuart was one of the businesses that I thought, oh yes, I must keep him informed of my new email address and contact details. And just at the same time, he was about to launch his art show, and he said that he'd paused before he sent the invitation button to me. But he did. He sent the invitation, and on the invitation it said fruit bats and mango sunset cocktails. I thought, oh, I need a party. I so need a party. And it so happened to have been way over in another state in Australia, because I was living in South Australia.
This is she was living 1,500 kilometres away.
Oh
So
my
it's a-
goodness.
It was a long air flight all the way to meet me. Originally, she was intending to meet me for half an hour.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said to him when I received his invitation, I said, yes, I will accept your invitation if you can give me half an hour of your time to discuss your technique with me. Oh, it's so funny because we were very professional, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, and we just got chatting, and we found out just through email and just through MSN at the time, wasn't it?
It was MSN. Yeah, MSN chat.
So we worked through MSN chat, and we're just talking all about our art careers, and we had so much in common. We'd both built our own hand equipment, silkscreen printing.
Silkscreen printing equipment. We both hand built.
We did have something legitimate to talk about.
And yes, so we
could rave on for hours.
Yes, we could rave on for hours about that. But the upshot of it is, by the time it came for the show, I was picking her up at the airport, and that was it.
And that was done. And the story, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and this exhibition that you can see, that was the first time that I sort of really saw Stuart in action as an artist. And to me, he just looked like a big movie star artist, and I was so amazed and in awe. It was great. He had this team of people all around him, and because he worked with the charity, he had their support as well,
That's
which
right.
worked out really
so
good.
if you work with a big charity, if you can actually get in with a big charity, some of them will have volunteers and office staff and people like that who will be willing to help you, who may be willing to help you with the logistics of the event.
Yeah.
So all of that, having a team of friends around me, having an organised charity running an event, all help to make it a really successful event. You know, clever little touches like the cocktails. I also did a thing where I to engage people at the exhibition, I had a list of the artworks. I actually asked people to mark down their favourite artworks, and then at the end of then pop that into a box, and then at the end of the night there'd be a prize draw. So I would so that enabled me to find out which artworks, from a marketing perspective, people were really enjoying, and also enabled me to get a mailing list from that event too.
We should take some questions.
So do you want to shoot some questions, Jim?
Yeah, that's a great point, though. Did you give a picture away as a door prize?
I gave away, I gave away a silkscreen print.
Oh, that is such a cool idea. Okay,
yeah,
so
and that mailing list is so valuable and important to you. You know, if you're holding an art show, to get that mailing list, because then you can invite those people to your next show and things like that. It's very important. It's just like online, same thing in the world.
Guys, let's take some questions here real quick, and
we can see ourselves on the Google Hangout page.
David Davis is saying, yeah, you know, let me hang on just a second, guys. I want. Yeah, let me be crazy here. I want to show the picture again because apparently I had you guys up talking and not the picture. So now you should be seeing the photo now, and I apologize. Take a look. There's his team.
There it is.
Salon. Can you guys see it now? I'm so sorry.
See that now.
I do that so often. Okay, and I was staring at it the whole time and not realizing that you guys weren't seeing it. Okay, there's Stuart. He's 16 years old in that picture.
No, he's not. It was only 13 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago, so I apologize. And David Davis says, I can serve margaritas for my show here in Texas, and absolutely, margaritas, I would come up to Dallas for
oh, wow.
for margaritas with David.
David, stick them in a, I'll give you a tip, put them in a slushy machine. Hire a slushy machine, and that will make them all for you.
Yeah. I'm going to leave that picture up for just a second. Whoops. Wait, no, I'm not. Hang on. I'm so sketchy with the tech tonight, but I'm just glad we're able to do something at all.
No, you're doing great.
I'm going to put the picture. I'm going to put the picture up again because I like that picture, and let's look at some more of the questions as they come in. You guys can all see the pictures on the screen now. Is that right? And let's take the question about the showing.
I can see you scrolling through the questions,
yes,
Mark.
That's what we can see.
At the moment, we can see you scrolling through the questions. I don't know if everybody else can see that.
I'm still screen sharing. Okay. Hang on. Yeah.
That's all right. You'll get there. That's okay.
I'm going to get off screen sharing so that I can see the questions. So stop screen sharing. Stop. Okay, there I am. Now you can't see me going through the questions. So
no, we can see you now.
Okay, I'm gonna put you guys up because you're the star attractions there. Okay, so the question about creative solutions for framing. How did you frame the canvases in that particular show, Stuart?
Right.
And can you guys talk about?
Well, in that particular show, I had some sort of fairly standard-sized paintings, and so I made it cheaper by having them all sized the same, all cut the same, for a lot of the hours. But for many of the hours, also I didn't frame the canvases. I just had raw canvases, so I kept that nice and cheap. But since we've been doing lots of shows, what we have tried to do is just basically standardize on certain sizes of canvases, certain sizes of picture frames, and it just makes it a lot cheaper to put on a show. In fact, if I was going to be putting on another one, I was starting from afresh, I would probably just pick a few key sizes for my artworks, and if I was having to make frames, I'd make them all as standard as possible, just so I could, and also a fairly generic as well, so that have a kind of frame that fits in with lots of people's decors. You know, that fairly frame, maybe more of a museum style. You know, where in museums they tend to have fairly conservative frames, and the thing about those is you can use those again and again. You know.
And another thing that Stuart had too, had prints for sale, didn't you? How did you have those framed?
I had prints for sale, and I just have one of those framed up, but then I just put those into packets, just wrap them in plastic, just thick plastic, just wrap them over with a piece of thick plastic. Made a little foam core. Yeah, sometimes I would have a piece of foam core cut to the size of the print, and I'd place that behind the print and then wrap that in plastic. As we got a bit more advanced later on, we went with shrink wrap, and we would get our prints professionally shrink wrapped at the picture framers.
But also clear cello paper is really nice too.
Yeah, clear cello paper is good.
So you have your foam core at the back, then you have your artwork, then you have just a simple mat board, just plain colour, just plain white or cream or whatever works with the artwork, but very plain, and then you can just put plain cello over it and just stick it at the back. But we always included things like a certificate of authenticity on our contact details, and that was always, you know, neatly and beautifully put in the back. So certificates of authenticity are important, especially with limited edition prints. And the prints that we'd made at the time, the ones that Stuart had at his show, they were all hand created, more than 20 colours on as cerebral, not cerebral, as a
21
screen print.
21 separations.
And that's what I did as well.
On a handmade.
Well, they were like original pieces of art then.
That's right. 21 separations. Basically, nobody does that.
Oh my gosh!
How many did you do in that edition?
I did. I actually started the screen printers when I was doing these. I showed these to the screen printers, and they thought I was completely insane. I started out with 110 pieces of paper, and I ended up with 99 artworks, and I did 21 separations. That's 21 pulls of the squeegee with a different colour for each artwork, for each screen print. And so my error rate had to be almost zero. And
he did a bit better than me because he had a slightly different process, but I did the same thing on the other side of Australia, and my editions were 50. I had editions of 50, but I was doing some really great, huge ones. I did editions of about 5 of those, but they were, again, 20 colours, you know, pulled through the silk screen print. And that's actually one of the main things that attracted us to each other, because I was being told I was crazy on one side of Australia for trying to do it. But I won a scholarship to study mine, and my mentor was saying, "You're crazy, you can only do 4 colours." I said, "It's not going to happen, I have to have my 20 colours." But Stuart did it off his own back, didn't you? And
that's right.
We both built our own equipment and both did it.
And I guess, Mark, there's another tip for anybody who's going to be running an exhibition and you're thinking, well, I've only got one of these artworks. How can I multiply my sales, you know, especially for artworks that might be popular? Well, if you can't run to a full-blown print run, you know, maybe think about having a look at sticking a bench in your garage and making your own screen printing bench, like we did, and doing some
but the
screen prints of them.
The thing that's really wonderful about doing those screen prints yourself is that they are also original artworks.
Yeah.
But having said that, we have also used giclée. We've sold giclée prints as well, and they're beautiful. You know, the giclée process.
Yeah, very, very accepted now by collectors and artists alike.
It's a good sideline at your exhibition.
That's right.
To have.
So yes,
you can have original pieces. Can you have prints of the same original pieces that are at the show? Can you have them at the show as well, or is that bad form?
No,
that's okay.
If you've got a popular piece and you think that lots of people are going to want it, yes, by all means, have giclées, have screen prints.
It depends on the show. It really depends on the show. I mean, we've been gallery represented artists too, and we've been represented by a lot of really good galleries. And you wouldn't put just a normal giclée print, of course, into a gallery. You'd think very carefully about that. So it all depends on the art show and your audience. You have to gauge your audience before you even go and before you even plan what you pack into your car to take there. If it's a very high-class event, then you're not going to take your bunch of giclée prints. You're going to take your one-off originals. But yeah, there's a lot of planning that goes into each art show. But I'll let Stuart tell you more. We might want to go.
David Davis is asking, I've started doing digital collages. I have a site on Tumblr. It's Anglican Underground. Can you sell things and then get prints made according to the orders? You mean, I think, David, you mean right off your website and just sell prints from the website? And what do you say to that?
I could answer that because I've sold a lot of original paintings in my time, and I actually then created those original paintings into digital files in Adobe Illustrator, and they're now for sale on some really important websites like Lieberman's, Fulcrum Art, Art Loft, places like that. I've sold the original artwork, but then I created prints myself actually, but you can even create them, you know, Fine Art America and places like that. You can do it yourself. I don't have any problems with that, so long as you know, you're just aware of where you're marketing it. I would be very careful about the way you price your work. Make sure that people know whether it's a limited edition or not. If it's open edition, of course, it's going to be a lot cheaper than if it's a signed edition. So you just think about things like that, whether you're going to make it a signed and limited edition. If you're making an open edition, just bear in mind it's basically just decoration, which is really lovely to have beautiful decoration. So I've created a lot of silk screen prints which were in editions, and I've hand-signed those editions, and they were all pulled by me by hand. They are, of course, a lot more valuable than a print run that's just an open print run. But you do that for various reasons. I went through places like Lieberman's and that, because that's art licensing, so those images are licensed, and I felt that people just needed to have that happiness and that joy on their walls, and I was really happy to do that. So I think it's great that every different move you make affects your career, and you have to think about it, you know, how it's going to affect your career and where you're going to sell it and why you're selling it. Everything's carefully thought about. For both of us, really.
You get that from Stuart's book too. The strategic thinking that goes into these. You just don't. You do a little planning and you think about your market demographic and your audience.
Right, have you got another one of those pictures? Can we try putting another one up?
Yeah, let's pull another one up, and I'll try not to mess it all up this time.
This time, hopefully, everybody will let you see it.
Yes, if I'm generous. If I'm generous like that, let me I think I learned my lesson. There we go. Now you should be able to see this, and
so should we look?
We can see it, but do you want to just ask others if they can see it as well?
Yeah.
Right. So can you let's see? I'm going to go to the page. You're going to see everything. You're going to see everything change again as we go back to the page. I'm going to answer Rosie's question.
So we're
seeing you type now.
I know you are, but I'm just answering Rosie real fast, so
okay.
she knows how to get on. And now I just saw.
Click the play button, please.
Oh, she's trying to get in to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And okay, so let me go back.
And also one thing about Stuart and I, we just love sharing our experiences and our knowledge, because art is our life. We completely live it, and there's sort of no boundary. We're always talking about it. We're always creating art. Our daughters are both creative. They both love drawing and creating art as well.
How wonderful.
So, well, we just think there should be a lot more art in the world.
I agree. That's how I feel. I think the world will be a better place. All right, so Stuart, I got a gorgeous picture of the two of you up. Can you guys all see that?
That's another one from the art show at the hairdressing salon. As you can see in the background, you can actually see the hairdressing chairs there.
Yeah.
And a picture.
One of my artworks.
That's one of the artworks that Cindy created for that hairdressing salon.
That was a commission that I did for them.
That's right. Yes, and again we've got very good hair there because of the hairdressing salon.
Now, was your piece hanging there at the time of Stuart's show, or was this a later?
No, this was afterwards.
Okay, so they're a real patron of the arts, and you mentioned in the book, Stuart, how upscale hair salons are good because it's a clientele with discretionary.
That's right. Well, if you go to an upscale hairdressing salon, there's people there who have money to spend. They like nice things. They like beautiful things. They like fabulous things.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And if your art fits that demographic, then if you can actually clear away the mirrors for a night, then a hairdressing salon's a great place to have an exhibition. If you can get talking to the owners, and maybe they have a charity event, or maybe they have an event where they want to entertain some people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's interesting too, Mark, because it all depends on where you're at with your art career as well. Because the whole idea is to just get your art out there, get it seen by the people as much as you can, and as you make your way up into investment level art, then you think a little bit differently where you hang and display your work.
Mm-hmm.
And then you sort of gravitate towards high-end galleries and things like that.
But that exhibition there, just in the hairdressing salon, was enough to get me into magazines.
Yeah.
Got me noticed by magazines.
Wow.
I got my first sort of little feature in Queensland Homes magazine, which was quite a big publication in Queensland for interior design. So it was enough. Just something like that was enough to get me noticed by people and start the ball rolling, give me a bit of a track record, give me a sales price record, because I was able to sell my work for good prices. So I was setting a track record. So then when I did finally talk to galleries, I knew what I was talking about.
Actually, that's a really good point too, because Stuart sort of bounced into the art scene with his prices at quite a high level, and I was quite shocked because, for example, we're going back 12 years now, and some of his work. What was your highest price work that you sold on that night?
It's $895 or
something like $895. But this is his first art exhibition, and I was just aghast because I mean the first piece of art I had sold was something like $45 or $90. Price like that. Mind you, that was even 10 years prior to that. I'm talking 23 years ago. So. I'd sort of been painting and had a career of about 10 years more than
the prints were $50.
But he'd sort of bounced in at a level that I had climbed up to and worked my butt off to get to. And here's this guy that just bounces into the art scene, and it just goes to show that where you stage your art exhibition can really influence your pricing structure and everything. I mean, this is a top-up market hair salon. They were doing hair for magazines and stuff.
They do like celebrity and competition hair and all of that kind of thing. Anyway, Matt, let's move on to another. We've got another.
Okay, all right. Let's
get out of the hairdressing salon.
We'll move out of the hair salon and we'll go to.
Look at this.
This is very relaxed. What a great
Well, believe it or not, this is us being inventive and making an art gallery in our garage.
Yeah.
In your garage, okay.
In
All
our
right.
garage. Just ready, just in our home, and that's another great place for your art exhibition if you want to have one and you've got nowhere else. If you've got a tidy house, a tidy home, or if it can be spruced up a little bit to look, if you kick the dog out and move the kids out for an evening, maybe you can have an art gallery in your own home. And this was in our garage, and behind the big painting at the back is our washing machine. That's right. So, we made and we even made a little consulting desk there, which I'd painted nicely with a design from one of my paintings, so I could see clients down.
Color coordinated.
We have our business cards there on the desk, and we're all set to sell there.
And something that's really important to keep in mind if you are doing something like that is the way that you hang your art. Make sure that the paintings are not crooked on the wall. Have nice sort of. Stuart, one of the things that I love about his skills with art exhibitions that Stuart has is he has the ability to hang them nicely, so that they look cohesive, and they're not all crooked. You can invest in just some simple hanging equipment to make it look really impressive. And lighting, have some really nice lighting shining on the work. Those two things are really, really important.
Okay.
And if you notice, relating to David's question earlier, he was asking about the framing. You can see my standard-sized framing on the left there.
Yes.
Various artworks.
That's gold, isn't it? Just simple gold.
That's right.
With white mat.
Just a simple gold with
very
white
clean. And effective.
What David was saying earlier.
And then the canvas, just a stretched canvas. And we always paint right around the sides with the canvas too, Mark, so you don't have to frame it.
That's right.
It can just hang without framing.
That is so effective. Look at that. I've not seen that like that before. That's so clever.
Really?
No, I haven't. I haven't been around the gallery scene very much, but I think that makes such a nice statement.
So I'm presuming, Mark, that everybody's now seeing these pictures.
I'm going to check and make double sure, but I think we're good. I think we're
Another
good.
thing too, I don't know if a lot of children's picture book illustrators actually hold exhibitions, but what a wonderful thing to do to frame your artworks, that were in the book that you've published. I don't know, Mark, do a lot of children's picture book illustrators do that, because that would be so awesome at your book launch,
More and more you're seeing illustrators selling their original pieces for quite a bit.
Yes, it's just an amazing thing. But not only that, it's a really good thing. You don't necessarily have to be selling the work, but you could also just have it there for display, just to show people at your book launch, just as a talking point. Just an idea.
It's a great idea. Let me go back to the slides. Cindy, the audio speaker on you, it must be your mic. I just checked mine. It might be on, so we might be getting a double audio track. So you might just check on the Google Live event page and make sure the audio. Sometimes they click on spontaneously the audio.
Oh, is our audio on? Is it?
Well, it was for a second. Now it might have stopped, but check and see. And I checked.
Yeah, we haven't got that page up with audio.
You don't have it up? Okay. Okay.
It may be the recording playing back, do you think?
I don't know, but I don't hear it now, so we must be good for now.
Is there any more questions, Mark?
Well, there will be, but let's. Do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
And while we're doing that, there was a question. How do you know when you're ready for your own art show?
Well. That's actually a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're going to need to have enough art. Okay, so when you actually think about having an art show, you're going to have to plan it out far enough that you're going to be able to hit a target with enough pieces of art. So for me, that would probably be about 24 pieces.
Even 12 is enough if they're good pieces.
Yeah, for big pieces.
I'd say anywhere between 12 and 24.
That's right. But what if the question's actually more about when is my art going to be ready to show?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I did to get feedback about my art is I had my art printed up on business cards. I had 5 of my pieces printed up on business cards, and I did them rather nicely, did a nice expensive job on them. And what I would do was, anywhere I would go, as I said earlier, I would have my Filofax and it would have these business cards in it with these artworks on them. And I would show people, anybody who would look at it, these 5 business cards, and I would hand the business cards to them. I'd put 5 of them in their hand, and they'd look at them, and then they'd make noises as to which ones they liked, or whether they liked them or whether they didn't. And if they liked them, then I would say, oh well. Well, invariably they would ask if they could have the business card, right? So I got that feedback. If I showed them the business card and said, "Ooh, I like this. I like these ones. Can I keep them?" And then I would say, "You can choose one. You can
okay.
have one." Okay, and then they would carefully look at the artworks and pick their favorite, and that's again marketing feedback, direct, face-to-face marketing feedback. And I knew I was ready because people were wanting to take. I had 5 cards, and people wanted all 5 of them. You know, so I knew I was ready. I had a product, and as a sort of sideline as well, I actually ended up using those little cards and I actually framed them as mini prints as well.
I would say also, though, in answer to that question, how do I know if I'm ready? I think that was the question, wasn't it? How do I know if I'm ready? I think the idea that Stuart's saying is really good. It's getting feedback from other people. And what we both have always done in the past is we'd take around a little portfolio, like Stuart said earlier, and you keep that in your bag. Just get some feedback from people around you in general. I've got a great trick. If you're a woman asking the question, but anyway, for the girls out there, or for anyone who's got a wallet with a little clear plastic bit in it, I always keep one of my drawings in there. So you go to checkout, for example, or if you're buying some clothes in a clothes shop. Now, this is a really good trick, girls. When you're buying a beautiful dress or some nice bags, you take this out, you flatten when you're getting a minute while your card's a bit stuck. So it gives them a few minutes to really look at your image, and it works nearly every time. They go, "Oh, wow, did you paint that?" I say, "Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm having an art show in about 6 months. Would you like to come?" And they say, "Oh, yes, please." I say, "Oh, and you can bring a friend." And I go a step further, and I say to them something like, I'll put your name down on my VIP list. And then you can even go another step further too. And you can show them your book in your bag then. You can take that out. You can let them see it. Have a look at their face when they're looking at your work. Now, if you don't get a very good reaction, don't worry about it too much. Try it, though, with a fair few people just to see what their reaction is on their face. Now, I suggest that you try it with different demographic, people from different, different worlds, so to speak. So you might go into a really posh dress store where you know that people have got money around there, very expensive stores, and then go to your supermarket for people that are just more casual, everyday people. Go to your doctor's surgery, just different places, and bringing out your little book. And you're not trying to sell in those instances. You're just showing people your work and getting a bit of feedback on what they like and what they don't like.
And listening to them, really paying attention to what they're saying and watching.
Whatever you do, don't be offended about your art if people don't absolutely love it at first, because, one of the things that I've found in the past is that people always ooh and ah over realism, especially. I think there is a common knowledge that the more realistic your picture is, the more like a photograph it is, the more they're going to like it. But mine and Stuart's style is very contemporary, very different, and so that the people that gave a good reaction to those works were the people that I listened to, because you're always going to get people say, "Wow," when your work's realistic. It's sort of like a done deal. When it's really, you're going to get a wow.
Right. They sort of equate that with skill. But while we're doing that, I'm going to show one of Cindy's pieces because while I'm sharing the screen, because Cindy also is a master of representational art, and she teaches you how to do representational art as well. I don't know if it's accurate to say representational art. It's almost better than it's realer than real. Let's see if I can.
And I think it's important too to understand that most people generally accept realism art first up. but then the more they look at your work, this is why it's good to have in your little portfolio some very realistic art, but then your stylized art. You know, like Stuart was doing, he was showing around the little cards, and his work is very stylized. It's very fun and funky. It's gorgeous art. And so you're impressing them at first, showing them that you really do know how to draw or paint, and then you show them your stylized. And if you're a children's book illustrator, for example, you can have samples of your book illustration in your little portfolio. And then, you're just gauging this feedback to see what other people think of your work in answer to that question.
That is a great tip. Really good idea. I'm sorry, my bandwidth on the Hangout, it's not enough to open the JPEGs, but if you were at Cindy's program from a couple Mondays ago, you know the kind of artwork she's capable of, and so she works in all directions, and I suspect Stuart has all kinds of styles too. So yeah. Now where was this
photo that you can see here?
What's that?
I just want to talk a little bit about this photo that you can see. Because
I was going to ask you about that. Where is that?
Now, this is in a school hall.
Okay.
And we had a pop-up gallery in there, and we were about to come back. We were about to come over to the UK from Australia, and we wanted to have a final show. And we didn't have a venue, but what we did have was a school hall across the road. We didn't have any, there wasn't any hanging equipment or anything like that, so we just used whatever was available in the school hall to put on an exhibition. Now, so you can actually see the artworks are propped up on chairs.
On a whiteboard at the front.
The front, that's a whiteboard leaning against the chairs. The back, those are ping pong tables, right? used as gallery walls. So what this is showing is that don't worry if you haven't got the perfect walls or the perfect location or the perfect anything for your exhibition. Just use what you've got to hand. And you know, we sold a lot of artwork at that exhibition.
And again, it's all about the intention. You see, this particular event worked, Mark, in the way it did because we were expressing it as a sell-out sale. It was the very first time that we'd put our work on sale. We had a massive reproduction at 50% off, moving to the UK sale. So it worked. It just worked really well. So it's interesting how you can be very creative with your space, isn't it?
It really is. Do you guys see the ping pong tables up on their sides there? That's really quite ingenious. They're perfect. Perfect backdrop. And it's in fitting with the school theme, and gee, that's just part of the environment, so it just totally works.
And you can see the chairs at the back there holding up the whiteboard.
And the chairs, yes, and the whiteboard. It's a hoot.
Propping up.
And it's so effective. It's so natural looking there. So, all right, let's go to the next slide. This story starts off the book. This about this particular venue.
Yes, well, this is the House of Bottles in Tewantin, now sadly deceased. It's been demolished, smashed into a million bottle pieces, and probably replaced by a luxury home. But we came across this wonderful old bottle house, which was an old Queensland tourist attraction, and somehow we managed to windle our way in there, and before it was demolished, have it as our own personal art exhibition space. So
yeah,
I guess the learning in this is, you know, is there in your area, if you're looking for a space to show, is there something unusual, an old unloved building, maybe an old tourist attraction or an old warehouse or something like that, which you can have for relatively cheap rent and have a spectacular exhibition in there. And if you actually go to the next picture that's on underneath that mark, you'll see us inside that place.
There's all the bottles. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
There you go. You can see, and there's the artworks, and on the wall inside the House of Bottles, and we converted it into an exhibition space. So it just goes to show, you know, you can be inventive and think outside the square and find places which are unusual. You know, just look around at where you are in your location, if you haven't got access to a traditional white-walled gallery, just see what is available and make the best of what there is if you want to hold your own art show.
It's ingenious. That looks so attractive and so fitting. It's so comfortable in that space for some reason, like it was in the school space. The book, talks about turning banks, professional offices, hospitals, hairdresser salons. It talks about and how to approach these people, the owners of these venues, to make it palatable for them, worthwhile for them to consider an offer like this or a proposition like this. Waiting rooms, pubs, taverns, hotels. It goes on and on with all kinds of ideas, different approaches, thinking outside the box, and
that's right. It's just a matter of just thinking outside the box, and that's why I wrote the Your Art Show book, just basically to get people thinking. You may not have access to a traditional gallery, you may not be represented by a gallery, but if you've got art, you've got enough art to show, you should be showing it, and don't just leave it stacked up in your shed or in your attic. Get it out there, start showing it, and the aim of the book is just in a compact little volume, just to start your brain juices working.
Yep.
And thinking, hey, there's 30 different types of venues listed in the book, but that's just the start. It's just a starting point for your thinking. And so what I'm hoping is that you'll read this and then you'll get some ideas and you'll think, hey, well, what have I got around near me? Who can I approach? Who can I talk to? What events are happening where I can show my art? Where can I have a win-win with the venue owner? Where can I show my art in a good light and have a good result for the people who own the venue, a good result for me, and a good result for the people who might come and see your artwork?
And if
Yes.
you're not sure whether you're ready or not to hold an art exhibition, just hold it anyway, and because the feedback is so valuable, and don't be worried if you get some people laugh at you. I've had people laugh at my work before, and you just realise that's just all a part of it. You're going to get some people that like it, some people that hate it. You can't win everybody every time. You do have to be prepared for that. But have a go anyway. Have a go.
Have a go, and be bold, and a lot of these places.
Believe in yourself.
Believe in yourself, and even these fancy pavilions, like you mentioned in the book, Stuart, these big fancy pavilions between big office complex or professional offices. Those spaces, those empty spaces, get tiresome, and art can freshen them up, and it be a change of scene and be real appealing. And your job is to convince the person in charge of the space that your art will in fact do that for them.
That's right.
And there's
Sometimes
different arrangements you can make.
Being audacious.
Yeah. There's some questions. Have we got some time for just a few questions,
Yeah, sure.
guys? David was saying that he says, I've been a pro cartoonist and have done lots of this kind of stuff. Is digital collage looked on as a lesser thing than traditional stuff? So I guess, David, you mean like creating prints from your digital collages. What do you guys say to that?
I mean, anything goes these days.
Yeah.
I mean, a while back I went over to a local museum, and there was David Hockney's joiner photographs there. They're just photographs stuck together, and
they're brilliant.
They're seen as fine art.
It's the end result that counts.
Yeah.
Is it pleasing? Is it beautiful? Is it does it make a statement? It doesn't have to be beautiful, of course, to be valuable. It all depends on how it looks. It doesn't matter. I don't really care what medium art is in.
David Hockney, he's a good example of what you're talking about, because he does crazy unconventional art happening kinds of things, and at the same time he's got an installation at the Tate Gallery, or has had one that was the showstopper and the big draw.
The thing is, Mark, we have to understand that the medium of our time is digital. It is digital medium. I mean, I do a lot of digital art as well as painting and drawing and that. And if that's the medium that we choose, then we choose it. One thing we have to bear in mind, though, is that we want it to be archival as well. So whatever you print it out on can be important to consider.
Mm-hmm. Very good. You know, Stuart, you mentioned something called vanity galleries in the book. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, basically, a vanity gallery is a pay-to-play venue. So it's got all the features of a regular traditional gallery, except for you do not have to go through a gallery director to access it. So if you want that instant white cube gallery look for your show, and you have the money, you can pay and you can play, and they will provide. They will have on hand. Chances are they'll have on hand catering and all the hanging equipment and everything you would possibly need to stage a professional-looking show. So if you have, I mean, if those kinds of places, I feel would be great for somebody who has an existing following. If you've got an existing following of people who would turn up to your show, then that may be a great way to go, because it means that you get to keep all the proceeds. You don't have to go through a gallery director and pay them 50%. But having said that, when you do go through a traditional gallery, those gallery directors do earn their 50%. You know, and if you're only paying them 30%, I'd ask why, because they probably can't do their job, because
that's interesting. That's interesting.
They do need to have the money to do it, and we respect that. You've got to remember, we have been gallery represented as well, Mark. We've sort of done bits and pieces. Do you know what was really amazing, though? I'll never forget one particular gallery director who would not let us sell our art at all. And he got that angry that he ousted Stuart from the gallery, didn't he? He wanted sole representation in the area. We offered to give him a percentage of the sale and everything. Oh, no. And, oh, boy, he got so angry.
He was being very protective and territorial of his venue. Well, but that's a good point.
Stuart ended up selling a heap himself.
Yes.
But anyway.
Well, press releases, you mentioned working with the media and reporters a little bit in the book, Stuart, and do you send out press releases? Do they care about such things in newspapers and magazines?
Well, press releases, it's very interesting. I mean, journalists, just like everybody else, are time poor. And they've got a job to do. They want to fill their column inches. And if you can supply them with a piece of text which on a Friday afternoon lets them get down to the pub earlier, you know, then that's going to be good for them. So what I used to do was, when I was doing press releases, I would write in the pyramid format. So anybody who knows about writing press releases, you'll know that you write it in such a way that you could cut off the text at any point down the list, down your article, so they can fit it into whatever size space they have available. And I've always found that if I wrote a well-crafted press release with some human interest, not just a plain advertising blurb, but something with a bit of human interest, it would just about always get in the newspaper. But once you went into local newspapers, the local newspapers were easiest. But once you go into those, then you could it was an easy step up into the colour magazine that was associated with it. And then once you got into that, then you'd start to get picked up by the Metro magazines.
Yes.
And so
by the time we ended up leaving Australia, we had some of the top magazines just wanted to do interviews, but it was pointless because we were leaving anyway. So we sort of said, oh, well, you know.
You were Australian celebrities right about the time you were pulling out. Well,
it could have been at the very end.
They wanted to meet you. Yeah.
We were quite well, but we were very well known in our area where we were in Queensland.
Yes, people would stop us in the street.
Not quite. That was in the town that I was in before.
Well, you know, also you mentioned the world of hobby niches, the expos and shows in specialty areas, and this certainly applies to authors. Can you talk a little bit about that? What would be an example of a niche expo that would be interested in artwork?
There's all sorts of shows out there where, say for instance, if you're into drawing cats, Well,
Yes.
if you turn up to a cat show, you're going to get some business.
Yeah.
You know, if you do good
Yeah.
cats, you're going to
Cat
pick.
books, cat
So
art.
it's about it's about getting into those shows where you've got a a like with like audience. Ones that we did when we were up in Queensland, we did the tourism expo because my art is very holiday oriented and very seaside oriented, surf oriented, and so it
Yes.
was great for that tourism type market. So we did that kind of thing. So if your art, if you're into drawing cars, custom cars, maybe you turn up to a custom car show or
Yeah.
something like that, and,
Yeah.
and just try and find your audience. I mean, you may not be accessing the fine art audience there because they're more interested in their cars. But if they may commission you to do a picture of their car,
Yeah.
at a particular
Yeah.
price point,
A
so
portrait commission.
a good outlet for your art. People are
Yeah.
interested in it.
Yeah, great. That's a great point. I bet Jan Vermeer and Rembrandt would have done that too if there had been car shows in their day. I bet they would have been hanging out there and painting burgermasters in front of their sports cars. I'm gonna check the wall for another last round of questions because it's late night where Stuart and Cindy are, and they got to put kids to bed, so we don't want to keep them too much longer. But if you do have some burning questions, I think what we're going to have to do is have you guys back for another visit. And would you be up for something like that? Could we bring you back for more discussion about art promotion at some point?
Wow.
Maybe 5 or 6 weeks from now. We can talk about that after the broadcast. I think that, because I know you've got so much more to share and to tell. But meanwhile, Carol's asking, can presenting one's work in a niche compromise getting the work out into a more general audience? That's an interesting question.
I'm trying to understand that question, Mark.
Well, so if you're doing car shows, does that preclude you or
you'd have to weigh up the benefits, I think, of being.
You have to think about it.
Yeah, you'd have to weigh up the benefits against the disadvantages of being in a niche because, for example, I'll give you a really good example actually. I painted in the niche of seaside lifestyle for nearly 20 years, Mark. And now I've moved here to England and that is almost completely defunct. And so
it's
in
not
that
a
respect,
surf lifestyle in England.
yeah, having a niche market doesn't really work at all for my advantage here. Also tropical art, I paint a lot of tropical art, but having said that, I've actually gravitated away from that anyway naturally because I'm so inspired by my surroundings and they're not like that. So in answer to her question, having a niche does compromise in some ways. You have to really think carefully about where you can display it.
It all depends, you see. There's this perception that if you want to be successful in the art business, then you have to go through the traditional art gallery route, which is great. It's fabulous, and it's worked for us at some stages during our careers too. But you don't have to. At the end of the day, what matters is you're getting your work out there, and if you want to sell it, that you're selling it. Does it matter that you're selling it at car shows? Does it matter that you're not in the Tate Modern? It's about getting your art out there and seen and selling it if you want to sell it.
But it does depend on your ultimate goal though too, doesn't it? We have this debate a lot because it depends on your ultimate goal or your ultimate aim. I always talk about investment art because I have great respect and great awe for the great masters' works and the great value that art is these days. I mean, we're talking hundreds of millions of dollars for great art and how it got to that point and how art really influences society. So there is a place for very important gallery selling art, and there is a place for developing your art career. And I mean, I mentor students all the time in that, and I encourage them to choose between whether or not you want to be an artist that's putting your work out there in the main circuit, in all different places, or do you want to move through the gallery system? And it's beautiful to have a choice of both, to even do a little bit of both, but to be aware of your intention.
Yes.
What is your intention as an artist, as an author, even as an author? You know, where do you want to be with your books?
But on the
Picture
other
yourself
hand,
10 years
on
out.
the other hand, if you want to make a career out of your art and you've got a postcard and you sell 1,000,000 copies of it for $1, who cares? You know?
That's right.
Ken Doane t-shirts. That's what we
You know,
say. It depends on your intention.
Depends what you want to do.
That's such a great answer. And you know, those black velvet paintings you do might be considered fine art in 20 years, or not that you guys do black velvet paintings, but you know, what's niche art today might be considered fine art in the future.
But neither one is right or wrong. This is the thing, Mark. I mean, personally, I'm not the kind of artist that puts one on a pedestal above the other. Each has its own merits. It all depends on how you feel about your art, about where you want it to end up one day. You know, where do you want to go with your art? What is your big art story in your art picture? And if you just want to get your work out there, like Stuart's saying, there's so many options, so many incredible creative places. Just get your work seen and shown, and to get it out there. Save it's being stuck, hidden in the garage. All right, hanging in the garage, but not hidden in the garage.
Before anybody gets snobby about their art and where it's seen and what gallery it is in, just go to any art gallery, museum, shop, and you will find the great masters' artworks on mugs, coasters, posters, t-shirts. Famous art gets on famous, gets distributed and seen. So just get it out there.
Just get it out there. That's a great parting bit of advice. It's the whole point, isn't it? Children's book illustrators, same with you guys. Your art is both fine art and commercial, cultural memes, and yeah, this has been great, guys. I'm going to scan the screen to make sure there's no last-minute burning questions. You're getting lots of thanks and lots of appreciation on the page, Cindy and Stuart, and I don't see any other questions, but yes, Jan, it is being recorded. Oh, Jan had an interesting question earlier about, can you have an art show, a virtual art show online? Have you ever thought about that kind of, I don't know how that would work.
Oh, yeah, of course. I had one not that long ago. My agent in Los Angeles, Sherlon Gerard, he put on a virtual art show of my work along with a couple of his other artists, and it was actually really amazing. He hired this gallery space where you could walk with your mouse and it would walk you around the walls. I mean, it didn't come about any sales, but it was just a wonderful experience to see the work as it would appear in a gallery.
But it had one thing missing. What? Fruit, bat, and mango sunset cocktails.
and pickled something or other on a stick. Yeah.
You're right. You can't beat the cocktails, hey?
That's hilarious. That's
drink.
really good point. Really good point. But they were not serving alcohol at the school shows. We want to make that clarification. Very good. Yes, this recording will be up on this page, this event page. So just come back to the page. Send your friends to the page. We're happy to get the word out about this workshop today. It will be a YouTube video as well. So, well, we want to thank all you guys for coming, and stay tuned for the next one on Monday morning, March 30th. Cindy will be giving a program, more of a technical drawing instruction program. Cindy, do you want to just give them a one-sentence synopsis of what you'll be talking about next?
Well, I'm going to be discussing the major difference with my art course over anything else that's out there, and it's how I concentrate on sharing with others the 4 major comparison skills, and it's all about learning to draw really quickly in the shortest amount of time possible, and yeah, just making sure that you're making that connection between your eye, mind, and hand.
Very good. So I'll put the link out for you guys on that. It'll be on this page, and I'll send a little reminder about Cindy's program next Monday, another free webinar. And we're going to try and get these guys back for another session on promoting yourself as an artist. I think that it's an inexhaustible subject, and it's so important to all of us. And so we'll try to schedule them in a few weeks for another go. New topics in that same subject area. Okay, so I'm gonna say goodnight to them. I'm gonna end the broadcast, and thanks again, guys. It's been great fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Good,
And,
thanks, Mark.
good
Thank
night,
you, everyone,
everybody.
for coming.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
We'll
Bye.
see everybody
Good
soon.
afternoon.
Bye bye.
Bye.